Tyrese Haliburton gets an A on the group project. He's a gold medalist after an epic weekend for USA basketball. How'd they get it done? What did Haliburton take from this Olympics? Is he actually injured a little bit? Maybe sort of. We'll see. So much to get to on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, y'all? Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and SI, and today we've got to talk some Olympics. We've got to talk some Team USA and a Tyrese Haliburton gold medal, the first since Paul George for the Pacers in 2016. He did play the least. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about him getting an A on the group project anyway, him maybe being nicked up as reported on ESPN, what this means for him, what he could be doing in 2028 for the Olympics, other Pacers who could play there, and the Olympic experience in general after two just unforgettable basketball games for Team USA. The last two they played versus Serbia and France. Certainly core memories for me of the sport. They were ridiculous. And Tyrese Haliburton got to sit front and center for all of it. Talking all that with Jay Rigdon on today's Locked On Pacers. Let's just get right to it. Tyrese Haliburton has a gold medal. Forget the loser tag. It's over. He said he's tired of being a loser when they lost the Heat last year in his career high in points. Well, guess what, Mr. Haliburton? You have a gold medal. You are no longer a loser. What an Olympics for the United States men's basketball team. Two of the craziest consecutive games I watched in this very office that those of you listening on YouTube are watching me in. I involuntarily stood up at least 3 times across the last 2 games of this tournament. We're going to talk about this USA squad, Tyrese Haliburton in this Olympics, maybe also in next Olympics. Also, maybe he's like hurt a little bit. That came out today from Brian Windhorst. So tons to get to today. And joining me to break it all down, a man who would get a gold medalist for being a good dude. It's Jay Rigdon, the managing editor of Friday Golf. Jay, congratulations on your gold I just gave you. Did you enjoy the Olympics? There is golf, right? Who won the gold in golf? I don't know anything about that part of that.
There is. Scotty Scheffler won the men's gold in golf, which is fitting given the year he's had. And then Lydia Ko won on the women's side as well. It just wrapped up yesterday. So,
I love the Olympics. I'm always like, it's only over 4 years. Am I really going to? And then I just can't stop watching. I just get so distracted by
it's perfect nightly television. Where it falls on the sports calendar is also perfect. Like it couldn't be better placed like this time of year to just like turn it on every night and just get really into random things. And
yes, we can have Olympics after dark or place Pac-12 after dark in 4 years. That'll be fun too. We're already off the beaten path. Tyrese Haliburton, a winner, didn't play in either of the games since I last talked about him. He played against Brazil in that fourth quarter. Probably his most memorable game in the actual tournament. Was Captain Awesome Cheerleader in the last 2 games. I did very much enjoy the memes comparing him and whoever else did not play and their actions on the bench during the times they weren't playing in the last 2 games. It's hard to really break down anything performance-wise. We'll talk some about that in a second, but just in general, the last Pacers gold medalist was PG in 2016. Their last Olympian before that was in 2012. It was not an American. Can you pull this one out? Do you remember?
The last Pacers Olympian in 2012. I don't have that,
PG,
Tony.
You know.
Yeah, before PG. Absolutely. No, I do not.
It was Leandro Barbosa, who finished in 2012 with the Pacers, played for Brazil, but then wasn't with the Pacers the next season. So that only kind of counts. The thing is, I was looking this up. PG came back from the Olympics, instantly his best season, best scoring year, most efficient scoring year. Barbosa came back from the Olympics, his best passing year, right? So this does leap into something, and we'll get to that in just a second. But in general, it's very meaningful for these guys to do this, like for PG to have this one moment of the gold medal. It's like, what does this mean? Tyrese Haliburton's 24. Like, I think this is a big deal for his career and like path as a player.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a huge step. I mean, it's this team especially. Like this isn't like one of the last few Olympics where maybe it's a little easier to actually get on a team like this. Like this was, this was a hard team to make at all. So like just sitting on the bench as the 12th man or however that played out, like that's still an accomplishment. Getting to go every day at that level of training and practice with those players is a huge accomplishment, a huge deal. I know we've talked, it's been a kind of the point about him, and be able to pick their brains over, get information knowledge that way is also presumably intangibly important as well. So yeah, I think it's a huge deal. I think it's awesome. I think it was fun. I think he seemed to appreciate the experience too. I think his viral tweet after the fact kind of highlighted that. Like he has the right sense of everything, it seems like. So yeah, it was.
For those not on Twitter who didn't see it, he took a selfie with his gold medal, and the caption was something to the effect of, "When you don't do anything on the group project and still get an A." He was the only guy who played in 3 games. Everybody else played 4 more on that team. And I thought he might play when I first covered this Team USA experience on the show, but then they dipped Kawhi out for a guard, and then he might have also been hurt a little bit, and Derek White was just more fitting in that role. So that snowballing cascade effect all mattered. And it sounds like if you're hearing the injury thing for the first time, that's not surprising, because I also just heard this for Brian Windhorst, and we'll get to that in a second. But it does make sense that he didn't play. Like, no one was up in arms about it. And again, I still love that he's just smiley and happy all the time. Like every LeBron dunk, it's his favorite player growing up. He's like, "Oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing." Yes, he totally understood the moment still, which matters a great deal. And there's something you said earlier about taking stuff back. Like I when I had Alex Riley on last week, 2 Fridays ago now, we did a whole segment or bit on with Nembhard and Haliburton. If they could take one skill home from a different player and then one player back to the Pacers, what would it be? But if anybody remembers, or you really were like in the weeds on Summer League, they had Chad Buchanan on the broadcast for Pacers Timberwolves, and he said that something they challenged Haliburton and Nembhard on was to take something back from everybody on those teams. Like, these are the best players, and especially with the gold medal team, like the best players in the world. They're, the legendary trio that will never sit on the floor together again of Durant, LeBron, and Steph. Like, that is probably more valuable to Haliburton and the Pacers than, I mean, for him personally, the gold's obviously incredibly important, but for the Pacers specifically, that is just so impossibly valuable. And he got that experience, and he got to see them doing the absolute coolest thing, the coolest basketball thing since maybe the 2016 finals. I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that Tyrese Haliburton loves basketball and loves it in every form, not just, playing it himself. Like he's locked in all the time. He watches 10 WNBA games. He's all about that. Like, I think he's wired to appreciate that experience. And it's also not a replicable experience. Like that's a unique, one of a kind situation to go to do that, especially even this year with those guys. Like, with Steph's only been at the Olympics one time. Like, this is it.
Right.
Tyrese was there for that, and Tyrese saw him do that go off. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be gained from that, and I'm excited to see how it plays out.
There's a lot of guys who just have these like drop in the bucket. They were an Olympian, and I don't think we'll talk about 2028 in the next segment, but like I just did this project is the wrong term. I just pulled up rosters, but like the last Olympics was funky because of COVID, but like Keldon Johnson and JaVale McGee, are people gonna, 2016 had Harrison Barnes on the team, right? He was there. He was Michael Redd on the Redeem team. Right? Like there always is a guy like that, and everybody, they're like in lore. Like, everybody remembers Michael Redd from that team, even though he didn't play that much. It still matters, and Michael Redd was still amazing for a couple of years after that. So even not playing, there's tangible value. But he did. Like, I appreciated in the Brazil game that he came in, or was it the game before that? Whatever. The game he had 6 points like that, right?
Right away. Yeah.
It's like, okay, clearly he's still really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's just on a team like this, obviously setting guys up is really important. And everybody was so up in arms about who wasn't playing, which was so stupid to me. They won every game, but he clearly was good enough to be on that team. It just wasn't their absolute apex lineups. The Brazil, what he did is he came in on his third possession. He faked that pass in the lane and instantly laid it up for his first basket. It's like every time he played, he showed he belonged and was good enough. It was just that the team was so good that they needed role guys, because everyone who had the ball did really well. I looked this up before. Like, everyone who played, I believe everyone except for Tatum shot 50% or better from the field on the team. Like, that's insane. Oh, and Derek White. Like, everyone else shot 50% or better from the field. Do they really need someone setting them up? Like, I'm not trying to disregard what Haliburton's really good at. It's just they all could create really good shots all the time. Like, it made sense to me. And yet, when he got in there, he still was like, "Oh yeah, I'm really good. I also can shoot 60% and score and pass."
Yeah, my favorite little moment is if you watch when he comes in, when the game where he hit the 2 quick threes right off the bench. And like he comes in and he gets the ball in the left wing and you see Steph motioning him to shoot it like immediately as soon as he touches the ball, because he's out there actually with Steph for the rare little run there. And he did, and he nailed it. And it's like, all right, the other guys know he's good too. Like they see him shooting, like they know his game, like they want him to come in and do his thing. And that's, I agree. Like I think the way that they played offense didn't really fit what he was going to do anyway. I think that's, like they weren't running a lot of spread pick and roll attack, like they were kind of doing their own thing and doing it that way. So he would come in and sometimes just kind of, be off the ball anyway. And in that role, he can shoot it well enough to justify that. But like, they're never going to they were never going to give him the full keys to the offense in the actual Olympics anyway. And so at that point, he's a good break class in case of emergency, foul trouble, need a ball handler type guy. But I think he was always going to kind of be at the end of the bench because of that.
Once Ant really clicked, is like, he shouldn't have the ball more than any guard. Like there's always a Steph or a LeBron or an Ant or a whoever there who should have it. Again, this sounds like I'm insulting him, and I'm not. Like, these are amazing players, and he clearly knew that given the way he reacted to the moment. And it's like, hey, I got a gold medal.
Yeah. I mean, if Kevin Durant is coming off the bench the entire time, like, what are you gonna, like, it's hard to complain about not playing, like if that guy's willing to do that and sacrifice and come into that role and accept that situation, like it's hard, I don't know.
Everybody, quick little break here so we can talk about the lovely folks over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. Plus, with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home some huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Okay, let's talk about some other stuff from this. One is a little forward thinking, one's a little backward looking. So we got this from Brian Windhorst today. Hello. Whoa, surprise. He wrote about the budding rivalry of USA-France basketball. For those who are just descending into this stuff for Haliburton reasons or whatever, France beat USA in the group play of the 2021 Olympics. It's actually Team USA's only basketball loss since the Redeem Team in the Olympics was that France game. And then they played again in the gold medal game, and it was like a 6 or 5 point game. And then they played their exhibition this year, and then this championship game that was, I mean, the score will live as an 11-point game, but it was, I mean, if you watched it, everybody knows it was stunningly close. Anyway, buried is the wrong word, but in that story, Windhorst reports that there is an injury, and I copied the paragraph, and then apparently it didn't get copied, so let me go somewhere else to find this. But there we go. I'm good at copy pasting. He says, Tyrese Haliburton was slowed in the Olympics by a minor leg injury. Team USA didn't announce it, but he had an MRI, sources said, and was caught in a numbers game, but he still has a future with the program, which matters for both the things we're about to talk about. I didn't notice when he was playing that he was hurt, which is relevant and potentially speaks to the fact that it's a minor injury. The fact that it's minor, I mean, that training camp's not for almost 2 months. I would put little concern to this if I'm the Pacers. Obviously not nothing coming off a year with 2 injuries to the same leg. And so I'd be curious which leg and what this actually is, or what the matter. And it's an MRI, like, oh, that's something. But he still played. Like, it couldn't have been that horrible. So I'll be curious what this is and if it matters. And if at all, I doubt it, but if at all, how much it impacted his minutes. But that does matter. Like, people might shrug this off because there's time till camp, but after the season he just had, like, that was the only thing people cared about. Don't get hurt. And I don't know how this happened or what the deal is, but it does matter to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the 2 main takeaways for me from that little Windhorst piece, one, just less so this one injury, whatever it is, because he did play. Like, it didn't seem like it knocked him out of, being able to do anything. The fact that just he got dinged up again, like, that just kind of strikes me as like troubling, just in terms of like potential knock-on effects. Like, all right, another injury added to the list of things that happens, like, is, that's something to watch. I think also the fact that Windhorst said he still has a future in the program tells me that, like, like they liked what he was doing. Like, even if he wasn't able to actually get on the court this year with this roster, like he, obviously carried himself enough well behind the scenes or in practices and like think highly enough of him to, make that point going forward.
Yeah. I mean, say what you want about the World Cup team in 2023 that got fourth. Yep. And had Brunson and him and Ant and a bunch of other good players. But even though he was coming off the bench for that team, which can we stop every year, like whining about roles on like these all-star Team USA teams? Anyway, clearly he made enough of an impression that the coach of that team was like, yeah, I want him on the Olympic team too. And then again, the fact that we'll talk about what 2028 could look like. The fact that Windhorst is suggesting this, and the fact that there will be, I mean, off the top of my head, 3, maybe even more than that, guys from this Olympic team not around. Yeah, they like him and would like to have him in the program. Like that's why you have young guys on these teams, right? Because you want to start building something. And specifically guard, they have some aging guys. So we'll see what that actually shakes out to be for him. But I mean, the people who are always like, oh, it's good he's on the bench, he can't get hurt. Well, now it's kind of a double whammy, which kind of stinks. So I would like to. This is all the information I have on this. Like I read this about 45 minutes before you and I started recording this. So I truly don't know anything about it, but it's not nothing to me. We'll see what that shakes out to be. And the other part of that is where I want to go next. That is 2028 here in the United States. Very cool. Olympic opportunity. Headliner will be worst USA team. Like this team was sick. This team was stacked that just played, and they will be worse for sure. And France will be better. I'll lob it to you first, and then I'll read some names. Do you think Haliburton will be on that team, health permitting, at the time?
Yeah, if we're permitting health, yeah, I think so. I think what he showed last year to start the year, coming off of that Team USA squad, where he showed enough last year to make this team. Anything can obviously happen. Like who knows, what players will come along, what's going to go on there. But I think his combination of just how he plays the game, he can fit with any group. I mean, he could come and even if you need a guy to, have no ego, he can do that too. But his shooting and his passing combination, he can play anywhere basically. And so, yeah, I do think that if he continues, barring again some kind of massive injury or some weird, crazy shift in his performance levels, I think he's on track to certainly be in heavy contention for it.
I would agree with that. So looking at this team that we just saw, Steph said, yeah, this was my one shot at it, right? So he's out, presumably. LeBron is 39, and I will be the last guy to say that LeBron won't do something. But come on. Come on. The only reason I'm not going to write anyone, this whole team could do it in 2028 off is because it's in LA, right? That's cool. But I would imagine those two will not be there. Jrue Holiday on the older side as well.
Yep.
So if they lose 3 guards or creators, whatever you're going to call LeBron, that does change the calculus of what your team is. But there's ascending guards or really good guards like Brunson, like De'Aaron Fox, right? So it's not just that easy to just, those 3 guys are gone. He's back for sure. Tyrese Maxey, if he didn't have free agency, what does his summer look like? So thankfully, I can read some names. Kevin Pelton, thank you very much, The Machine at ESPN, for predicting what a 2028 roster could look like. Let me go through some names, some that I feel like are duh. Okay. And thank you, Kevin Pelton, also for putting how old the player will be in 2028 in this article to make my job a lot easier. Okay. Bam Adebayo will be 30. Check in. Yep. Great. He was great on this team. He was super underrated on this team. He's in. Devin Booker will be 31. Also awesome on this team. Okay. Great. He's in there. And then Anthony Davis will be 35. We just saw KD, LeBron, and Steph at that age. Bigs age differently, but yep, okay. Anthony Edwards will be 26. Yep, great. Joel Embiid at 34. Probably that feels pretty good. And then the rest of the rostered part, the not in contention part you wrote about. Paolo Banchero will be 25. That's a pretty good one. He already is getting towards that All-NBA path. Brunson will be 31, potentially dealing with free agency at the time, but he was probably the guy that most people were the most like, he should have been on this team this year. I'm bad at scrolling. Chet Holmgren will be 26. That one would be very interesting, especially as Wembanyama continues. Tatum will be 30. I should have included him in the first list. Tyrese Maxey will be 27. And Thunder J Dub will be 27. That's the 12 that that's 11 of the guys he has predicted, with his 12 being Tyrese Haliburton. If that is the 12, right? Maxi's a guard. Booker was off ball for this USA team. Maxi's a guard and Brunson's a guard and Ant had the ball a lot. They would need a guard for sure, right? So not only role-wise, but like looking at the talent of that team, I would imagine Haliburton is a strong contender, although we'll get to the other contenders list in a second. But if that is the team, that does make a lot of sense, especially with Ant and Haliburton, the path that Team USA and that program seems to have them on.
Yeah, I think Haliburton is also a player whose game, I think, gets elevated at the FIBA stage, especially with great talent, especially great two-way defensive talent around him. Like, I think you saw that in like the first exhibition games that he played in, he got more run there. Like especially that the first game where he had the second unit where he was basically on the ball with Ant and Adebayo and Anthony Davis and like, was it Drew Holiday? I think.
Him and Bam, no matter who the other three players were just terrific together.
Yeah. And I think that is a thing. Like I think that's the other thing is like how players' games translate to the international game is different for everyone too. Like I think a lot of people want to like just like see a guy who scores a ton of points in the NBA and like be able to like, oh, he should be on the Olympic team. And that's not really quite how it works. Like I think for various reasons versus like team role and like inability to adjust. Like I think Jalen Brunson is a pretty selfless guy. I don't think that would be an issue. But I do worry. Like I wonder when you saw like his game doesn't quite get the same level of efficiency and like foul line trips in FIBA as it does in the NBA. I think that's partially why you saw Haliburton close over him last summer on that team too. Is that I think he's just a little more versatile of a player. And so I think, I do think with that group, I think he is in a good position. I think his age timeline is good. I think if he keeps, racking up all NBA appearances between now and then, and he's in good form, like I have a hard time like seeing someone like I also just really believe in his talent though too. So I can maybe slightly biased here on a Locked On Pacers podcast, but I would project him to certainly have a good shot at both playing and being on the team.
With literally no shade to Jalen Brunson, there's exactly one, right? And I think you can name it, but like small guards in FIBA play do not do very well because it's way easier to defend the paint without throwing the key. You can smack the ball off the rim. It's a slower pace game. It's just harder, right? Dennis Schroeder is the exception because he's so freaking fast, and Germany has no other guards. But like that's it. It's really hard.
Yeah. It's like the Patty Mills had speed as well at the FIBA level, and so he could do that, and he gets away with it. But like it's a little different. It's not as much about like being able to like use positioning and footwork and like get into contact and create that and get space because you get hammered a little more without calls. That's just how it is. Like, and so I think that's also part of it.
Well, look, to also be clear, Patty Mills hit a sick signature shot, but he also shot 41.4% in this tournament and averaged and averaged almost 4 times as many turnovers as assists because once his speed went away, it's not as easy to do this stuff as a small guard, right? So again, his shot was awesome. I got up so early for that Australia survey game. I was like, oh, please be good. Thank God it was very good. It's hard to be a small guard. Brunson, I'm almost certain will be on the next team. So thank you, Kevin Pelton, for that. Let's keep going though. Scotty Barnes will be 26. Great play, right? And he can kind of do it all. He would be a pretty good FIBA player to me. Jaylen Brown, already the drama this year. He'll be 31. Great. Yep. Cade was a select team rock star last year, apparently with the World Cup team. He'll be 26. Great. Okay. Cooper Flagg was a select team rock star this year. He's 17. That one's hard. Like everybody's predicting that team keeps leaving him off, and I would probably too. Just because we have no idea. Like, I assume he'll be really good. I don't know. De'Aaron Fox, Brandon Miller, Donovan Mitchell's really good. That's another one that could be in the mix. And then John Morant also really solid, and Zion with injuries. The rest are all like young guys who could be really good. Suggs, Trimmer, if you haven't Mobley. So I would say Haliburton's got a pretty good shot at 28, at age 28 and in 28. But there are some rising American talents. It's just that less of those are at guard, right? I mean, Cade is an on-ball guy exclusively pretty much, but a lot of those guys are not ball handler guard types, or they're shorter for that position. So I think he's got a good shot.
Yeah, I agree. And I think in the end, like all the talent margins are so thin that I think but no one, his intangibles that he has. And I think everyone, like, I know it's stupid to call that out at this point, but like, I think it is a tiebreaker though, kind of, if it's at that point at this kind of team, like if you have a guy that you're asking, 6 or 7 other huge stars, like if, who they want to play with, like, and who they want to have around. Like he had a good showing this year too, by all accounts, in terms of like behind the scenes, and like, he's a good presence to have. And I think that goes a long way at the end of these selection scenarios. I think that's also partly why he got the spot this year too. 100%
agree. Awesome end of bench guy. And congrats to Tyrese Haliburton on the gold medal.
Yep.
If he gets another shot at it, good for him. Goodbye, loser tag. The summer of Haliburton, as I tweeted. Eastern Conference Finals, All-NBA, 250 million bones, Pacers single season assist record, now a gold medal. Probably going to be hard to beat that in your whole life.
He's peaked. It's all downhill.
Your whole life. And playing with LeBron, his childhood hero. This is a little hard to do because of how the world works and how rosters change so fast in the NBA. 2028 Olympics, non-America edition. Andrew Nembhard, if he's still in the Pacers, yeah, probably a pretty good shot. He was already on the team, right? We can skip over that one because the reasoning's obvious. Pascal Siakam. Cameroon made the Olympic pre-qual tournaments this year. So they had a chance if they had won their little subdivision of that to make it. And he was on their first prelim squad, but free agency got in the way there. Would be cool to see him do it. One problem, his contract's 4 years long. So he'll probably be a free agent again if Cameroon has a shot, but would be really cool. Mathurin, he was already with Canada this year for their camp. He was still not quite clear for contact, it sounds like, from what Rick Carlisle said on a Summer League broadcast, but obviously a chance. Sneaking under the radar, the very, very first prelim roster for Australia, I believe, had Johnny Furphy on it. I would wonder, too, with them, the changing dynamics of their team, if he would have a shot there. And I don't know if Enrique Freeman would what he'd be eligible for in terms of national teams, because I believe he is American-Cuban. I want to double check that before I get that wrong. And if he's listening or someone related to him is listening, I very much apologize. But that could potentially be another one, and I'm actually having trouble figuring this out now off the top of my head. Either way, a chance for other ones. That said, NBA rosters change so fast that there's a chance that like none of the guys I just said are on the Pacers in 4 years.
Right. We can be talking about former Pacers in the Olympics, at least at that point. I would say Canada is really stacked. That could be a tough roster to make by the time it comes to 2028, given their trajectory and how things are going. So I do think Nembhard and Mathurin right now would be projected to be in that group. So we'll have to see how that goes. I actually think Furphy and his skill set, having seen all of, one college season and a few summer league games, but you can kind of see how it works at international level. And Australia isn't deep enough to turn down even an NBA bench wing to out of consideration. So if he progresses at all and has any kind of spot in the league at that point, I think he has a really good shot as well.
Freeman, Puerto Rican descent is the correct one there, which one I should have remembered.
Better for him. Yeah.
Yeah. They were just in the Olympics just now, right?
Exactly.
So they're pretty good now. We'll see I don't know what his international career is going to shake out to be at all, but there's a chance there. All right. I'm commandeering this podcast to no longer talk about the Pacers, Tyrese Haliburton for just a second, because the last two games Team USA played were sick. They were awesome. And I want to talk about it for a few seconds because that Serbia, I thought they were going to lose the Serbia game. When they fell down by 10 in the fourth quarter, because they got it to 8 or 9 late in the third, and then they were down 9 to start the fourth. They got down back double digits. I thought they're going to lose. And to see the seminal moment stars of my life, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, LeBron, all kick booty to win that game. The 90-second stretch of Bron dunk, Steph 3, KD, ice.
Yes,
it was awesome. I was tense at my house. And then to follow that up with a tight game with France where LeBron had a triple-double and Steph had 30 billion points. Follow that up with a game where they're we're going to start KD and he's going to be awesome, and LeBron's going to start the game off with a dunk, and Steph's going to hit the 4 craziest threes in a row you've ever seen to bury France. It's that was unreal. I don't want to be too in the moment, and I'm afraid I will be, but this was pretty close to there's going to be a documentary made about this team kind of levels, because both of the names on it and because of how the games went. Serbia was very good. France deserved to be in that silver medal game after the way they changed their style after the group stage, and they pushed USA to the limits. And it took the triumph of the guys of my life to do it. It was so cool. It was just so cool.
Yes, it was. I think they make documentaries about everything now, but I think they can make a really good one about this. So I think that's the distinction. We need to talk about that sometime. There's too low a barrier for documentaries now. They're too easy to make. They're too easy for everyone just to throw it up there and call it a documentary. And I think we need to have a discussion about what that actually means at some point. That's a different conversation. I think that watching that sequence against Serbia, where it was all Steph and KD and LeBron all 3 consecutive plays. It was like watching the scene in Avengers Endgame where Captain America and Iron Man and Thor all team up to do the joint attacks, except of course, like, it's hard to call Serbia Thanos. They're kind of like the underdog at that point. But like, I think that, it was crazy. I saw that they were down at half. I watched the first half and I was like, oh, they'll come back in the third quarter. And then I saw the fourth quarter scoring, and they were down again. I was like, all right, I better flip this on. We're watching the rest of this game for sure. And so like, I came up from the lake. I was on vacation at a little like lake cottage, and I came up from the lake to watch the end of that game because I was like, all right, this is going to, one way or the other, this is going to be interesting and I should watch this. And then I was locked into the entirety of that France game. Like, it was so interesting. It's so fun to watch.
Awesome.
Like, France played awesome. Like, they played so hard, and like, they deserve a lot of credit for that, because it would have been very easy just to, like, in front of their home fans, like, going out there getting blown out by Team USA, like, would have been awful. And that had to be a ton of pressure. And like, they handled it pretty well, and they almost pulled it off. Wemby is insane, and it's going like, it's like, I came out of that. League. Yeah. That was my other main takeaway. I think I was going to pitch you, is that like, I came out of that thinking, all right, this is so real and so terrifying for any non-Spurs fan in like the very near future. So yeah, that was crazy. And it was watching those guys do that at that stage of their career. Like, watching LeBron still look like one of the most athletic players in the world at 39.
My God.
Like, his
beard is gray. His beard is actively gray.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's still just like, he's just getting angry and powering up and just blowing through guys like he was, 21 again. Like, I don't understand how he does that. He's a very deserving flag bearer for the Olympic squad. That was also really cool at the opening. And I think I will never you will never see those guys again like that, like this. Like, they might be able to play around. Like, I'm not going to write LeBron off from playing in an Olympics, but like, we're not going to see this version of them again. Like, it's like, and so, yeah. And Steph going off in Steph ways, like in the most perfect Steph Curry, like, splash run at the end of that game in a very important situation to do it. I basically fell off my couch laughing at the fourth one where he just put it up over the double team.
What?
Like,
what? I put Olympics in general as a topic on this graphic because of all these many things. I have to respond to like some of the things you just said. One, the picture of LeBron on the boat with the flag while people behind him was like one of the best photos ever for sports.
It's iconic. Already.
Yeah, it's very awesome. Two, you're absolutely right about documentaries. When I say that, I'm hopeful it's like those 30 for 30s that everybody knows are like the best, like 15 of them, like the actual thing that happened could be that level of thing, at least for me, for basketball purposes. Okay, 3, France was losing that whole gold medal game, basically. I think they were up at like the very beginning of the second quarter for like a hot second. That was it. But they were in it the whole time. And of course, Dinier, who was really good the rest of the knockout round, made like any shots because he was really good. Because before that, they could have pushed him really hard. He was great every game until that one. Serbia's up 17, and I can't believe that Bogdan Bogdanovic chirping with Carmelo Anthony turned LeBron into a god all of a sudden. Where did that come from? That was really cool. What other stuff did you? Oh, the Steph 4-3. I like yelled in my house. Like, what? Who even? That was when I tweeted. So like, Jokic is amazing, right? Giannis is amazing. There's stars on a lot of teams in the Olympics, and there's bigs who are good in FIBA play in the Olympics, like Andreas Obst and Daniel Theis, even same team. Wemby was amazing. He's going to be a star, but like Matthias Sort was really good. He's big off the bench. A lot of teams have that kind of stuff, right? They have stars, they have bigs. No one has Steph. No one has the shooter. Like, what the hell do you even do? Throw your hands up level player. And that stretch to seal the medal was just, it was so funny to me. The first 3 he made put him up 6. And he's like, he runs back and defense. He's telling his team, like, calm down, everybody calm down. And then the second 3 he made, he's just going crazy.
Immediately lost it. Yes.
What was one other thing that you said that the stretch against Serbia. Filip Petrusev dunked to give Serbia an 86-84 lead with like 3.5 minutes to go. Yeah. 2:24 left in the game to down to 36 seconds. So we're talking about a little under 2 minutes. We got Steph 3 assisted by LeBron, nasty dunk, Steph mid layup, and the KD ISO. Come on. It does not get any cooler than that. Yeah. For most fans of this, it was choreographed. Yeah. Like
you couldn't have scripted it any differently. It's like I was watching a sports movie, basically, where like a fan fiction where it's like, all right, now we're gonna have Steph do this, and then Katie does this, then LeBron does this to close it out in a huge game. It's like, all right, but that actually happened organically. That's just what happened. And and a huge stage. It's also like, a late afternoon, like slot, like during a time on the calendar where nothing else is happening. So it was like peak basketball Twitter, like in rare form in the summer too. Like, and it's also the Olympics. You got the crossover people watching too. It's not just like basketball people. And so I don't know. It's like a really like communal moment, I think, on a random Thursday afternoon, but
it was incredible. The women's finals was incredible.
Yep.
Too. Shout out to France for actually pushing that team. No one pushes that team. Everybody said they'd win every game by 40 plus. They did not. So much good hoops, man. It was just phenomenal. Kate, there's so many things. Like I don't want to just sit here and be like
list off.
Let's name some 2000s running backs while we're just naming things that happened as we go. But it was so special, and to finish tying it back to the Pacers, Haliburton was sitting 2 feet away for all of it. Like he'll never ever forget that, and he might get another shot to do it. I have one more thing, not like awesome, not like anything related to Tyrese Haliburton. Noah Eagle and Dwayne Wade were terrific, and I hope NBC. I don't know what they're thinking for their broadcast package when they're up in a year. Those two, please give me those two a lot. They were really. Wade was a little like he played for Team USA homery at times, but when he's not playing for Team USA, he could be doing NBA games. They were really good together, and I hope they get the proper praise for it. Even LaChina and Zora Stevenson were really good on the women's side too.
Yeah. Wade is very self-assured in that role. Yes. Like he's talking like he's talking to a friend and not an entire audience at home, like his entire vibe, which is a unique vibe for an NBA broadcast. I enjoyed that as well. I think Noah Eagle doing basketball was cool. Like I was more familiar with him from calling the Nickelodeon football game every year, basically. And he does a great job there too. Like he's very versatile, and it's a good skill set to have. He sounds so much like his dad.
He does.
It's crazy. Like that's calling basketball, especially. It stood out to me. But yeah, they were fantastic. I thought the entire like production run was solid as well.
Yeah, Peacock. I can't believe I'm saying this. Peacock crushed it. They did a great job. They did
Just file this away as like maybe the last time you ever praised Peacock for their production
they
coverage.
They killed it. Like everything I wanted to find, it was easy to find. I could switch back and forth between stuff. I couldn't believe it. It was awesome.
It was.
Yeah. Wade was funny because like Noah Eagle would like have a prep line that he would use that was really good, and Dwayne would be like, "Whoa, that was a really cool line." I'm like, "Okay, you can't throw that in the broadcast," but I did appreciate it.
Yeah, he was kind of like doing like half podcast, half broadcast. It felt like at times, but it kind of worked. Like that, it didn't seem lazy. Like he clearly knew what he was doing. He came prepared. Like it wasn't just guy talking, and. So yeah, I definitely value that. Plus, he also is so plugged into all of those guys who were on the team. Like, yeah, it's hard. You're not gonna get a better insight, really. And he also played at that stage too. But
he would be like, "Oh, in 2008 we played Spain and it was tight like this late in this." I was like, "Oh, that was like that's what I want to hear during the game." So absolutely. They were great. The games were amazing. Tyrese Haliburton's a gold medalist. No, I know I can get rid of the loser graphic. I had fun tweeting it one more time. Over the weekend. What a cool Olympics. Tomorrow, as promised, I should have talked about this. I recorded early with Dustin Dopirak, so I sweated because we talked about Haliburton playing for a medal, and then they almost lost to Serbia, and I posted the day after that. I would have looked dumb. So USA, thank you for coming back. I commented on that one on YouTube and said, hey, we'll talk about Enrique Freeman's 2A on Monday. The Olympics were too cool, so we'll talk about that tomorrow, and then we'll have another guest Wednesday. Surprise on who that will be, and then just me the rest of the week. So if you were looking for Enrique Freeman 2A analysis today, I'm sorry, but Steph Curry and LeBron James stole your fun. Jay, thank you for the time talking about a tournament I will never forget. Where can people find you and your work covering golf primarily, but also talking about basketball very often?
Yes, I'm on X/Twitter at Jay Rigdon 5, the number 5, and then I'm the managing editor at Fried Egg Golf. So that is available on anywhere you want to go, Fried Egg Golf or thefriedegg.com, and you can check us out there. And we're also on social media and all different channels, and we do a lot of good work. So if you're into golf at all and want to, it's a great follow all around.
If you're interested in learning more about a man who got arrested at a tournament this year, winning a gold medal. That is the place to go. That is
absolutely.
That is the list of things I know about Scotty Scheffler.
That's okay. That's a good one to know. It's the list of most people, I think, at this point. So yeah, you're set. But
I know he's very good, like one of the best ever, and he's super young already. So yes, tomorrow more roster analysis because Pacers looking pretty close to done for the summer after keeping Freeman on the 2A player guest later this week. Everybody, thanks for listening. Till tomorrow, have a wonderful day.